what's been coming up for even for myself and others is that, you know what, this pattern, we've worked on it before. Why am I getting triggered again by this same thing? And it can be anything from a coworker relationship that's triggering you, where you're not feeling appreciated. It can be where you're in a legal battle with somebody, and there's money, financials, etc., being played out, as sort of simple as I can't do things right, like when you're really critical, like self-critical of yourself, and you need to feel what you're doing isn't perfect enough or it's not good enough. And so many of these stories that have been coming up for people are ones that I've worked with on these people together before, and we've addressed them from many, many different angles. And it clears, and all of a sudden they're starting to show up again. And what was becoming really clear is there was an element of shame at the base of them. And the shame had never been addressed or identified or looked at. So there can be shame and even feeling like you've lost money, or that you've even put yourself in a situation where you're battling for your money. There can be shame in the self criticism aspect, okay, where maybe as a child you were given a type of parenting where you had to, like, it was a lot of that, you got to be, well, that's great, you got a B, but why didn't you get the A, right? So there can be that kind of programming that gets put in of needing to always do better, and you're never good enough. And there can be some shame in that because you feel like I'm not good enough. So it's been showing up a lot. There can be shame in for and it's showing up in so many different ways, like, starting to talk to someone about their relationship with their mother, and next thing you know, the shame is coming up around of how the body was changing during puberty. And this is also coming up for men and women, because so many religions, Christianity, so many religions make us feel dirty about certain parts of our body, or the whole as things change, right? So so just take a look at that. Take a look if there's anything along those lines coming up for you, okay? And look at it, even just some of the self-sabotage behaviors or the patterns that we still have, that we haven't, that we know we're like, why am I still doing this? Or why am I still, um, some of the judgment that we all still have, why am I being lazy around this? Different things like that. And start to break it down to see if there's any element of shame underneath it all. Because I noticed once we dealt with the shame, because the shame is the lowest frequency that a human can experience. Once we dealt with the shame aspect of it, the hiding, sometimes you don't even want to admit that you have this kind of an issue, even if it might be a really simple, normal kind of issue to have. Once we dealt with the shame, it really felt like it finally just released, okay, and really let go. So take a look at that, because it seems like as the energies keep bumping us up more and more, we're dealing with so many levels of patterns and programs, and now we're at a place now where we're able to deal with these programs at a very core base level, which is fantastic, right? It's very, very exciting. So, and in terms of the physical symptoms that people are having, will you give us some tips on how to work with this shame? Okay. In terms of some of the physical symptoms people have been having, some of the period stuff, right? There can be a lot of shame around that, especially as a young girl when you're going through that. Like your mom might be projecting something on you at that period of time for you. Somebody was talking about how they didn't want to be a girl, and then when the period started, they had to finally deal with the fact that they were a girl because boys were more valued in their home. So They had been a tomboy all their life. And so there'd been shame in that, in losing the battle of pretending to be a boy, kind of thing, just as an example. So with the shame, Jen, you want to do that work where you're sitting with the shame, right? You, whatever is coming up, you hold space for the shame. You don't become it. Like, you don't go into the that version of you, like say you were 12 and you felt frustration and disappointment, and those hot tears that can come for little children when they're confused and they don't have anyone to turn to. So you don't want to become that version of you. You want to now hold space and be a witness for that version of you, okay? Because that version never got the attention that was needed. The shame was never addressed by the people in your life who were your primary caregivers or guidance counselor kind of people in your life, parents, sisters, siblings. So now you want to be the person that's now holding space and giving that shame or whatever emotion it is attention. And you just hold space for it. You stay focused on it. And it's called, I call it still pointing. It's a big technique I use in sessions. Um, and then what happens is it literally neutralizes and dissolves on its own. Okay.